Ragusa SHWA is very happy to have you in Ragusa Eva. It's not the first time.
Great job, Massimo. Many thanks for your job. And this video is wonderful, really wonderful. And now, all right, the master of the ceremony tells me that we can start. And the formula, the standard formula is, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel that I had not only ladies and gentlemen, but I want to add dear colleagues, dear friends, dear students, dear members of the audience. This is Giampaolo Schillaci, the convener of Ragusa SHWA, or Ragusa SHWA. That is the sound that we use in family. Allow me to say that I feel very honored, proud, why not proud, and moreover, delighted to open this 8th edition of Ragusa SHWA International Conference, Safety, Health and Welfare in agrosystems. Okay, a few slides. First of all, let me thank my fellow speakers who will be introduced by Dr. Marcello Biocca after this brief introduction. And then, of course, all of you who are here today, sharing the goal of listening to prestigious speakers and, thanks to them, learning new things. And now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, which is that Ragusa SHWA was born out of a challenge launched in 2007 by my great colleague and friend Pietro Piccarolo, here in the picture on the right, professor of agricultural mechanics at the University of Turin. The conference was held in 2008. It was supposed to be a one-off conference, but at the end, as we were leaving, some American colleagues who had enjoyed themselves immensely asked us when the next one would be. So, thanks to these fun-loving colleagues, Ragusa SHWA was organized also in 2010 and 2012. All these three editions, including the fourth held in 2023, were celebrated in Ragusa Ibla, a district of the city of Ragusa, southeast Sicily, a lovely town characterized by rich Baroque architecture, or to be precise, late Baroque, having been rebuilt after the terrible earthquake of 1693 that destroyed the entire southeast Sicily. In 2015, something changed. It was the year of the SPO. I am sure that all you remember very well. And Ragusa SHWA moved to Lodi, a pleasant town near Milan, giving rise to a fruitful collaboration with rural health, led by our friend, Professor Colosio, on the right in the picture, who is one of today's speakers. The conference culminated in the Lodi Declaration. The COVID era has forced Ragusa SHWA to move to online editions in 2021 and in 2022, which are proving fruitful and useful for maintaining contact between researchers. In fact, perhaps due to the relaxed and convivial atmosphere, our conference has a high return rate, so much so that several colleagues have not missed a single one. I am sure that behind my screen, there are colleagues who participated since the first edition. Results that can be achieved thanks to the many collaborators working behind the scenes. In 2023, we want to reward Professor Pietro Piccarolo, mentor of our conference. In the picture, our colleague Danilo Monarca, president of the Italian Association of Agricultural Engineering, holds the plaque that will be presented to Professor Piccarolo by Prof. Remigio Berruto, that is on the left. Not only did Professor Piccarolo receive an award, but also some young PhD students who had presented excellent work in the opinion of an internal committee at SHWA. Let's read the title of today's meeting together. towards SHWA 2026, cutting-edge technologies and strategies for safety, health, and welfare in agro-food systems. As in our previous editions, the title not online editions, the title not only refers to the upcoming edition, but also contains a very important sentence, a sort of statement, because it clearly defines what has always been the spirit of our conference. In fact, Ragusa SHWA originated in the field of agricultural mechanics, evolved towards agricultural engineering, and has always sought to hybridize with topics that could be considered borderline in the past, in particular in the past. Ragusa SHWA has collaborated with medicine and medical colleagues practically from outset. Since its earliest editions, it has dealt with robotic in agriculture. Here we see two prototypes in greenhouses and vineyard presented in the first editions, and economics, animal welfare, and then also the effect of landscape on health and well-being, as well as other topics that it intends to continue exploring. Today, Ragusa SHWA 2025 presents an extremely interesting program characterized by a variety of topics. So, it's time to pass the microphone to our colleague, Dr. Marcello Biocca, that will manage the meeting. But before concluding, allow me to remind you not to miss the cake that will close the 90th edition of Ragusa SHWA 2026. Dear Marcello,
thank you.
Take the microphone.
Thank you, Giampaolo. Yes, I have to give you some information before. And first, anyone can ask questions, and using the dedicated space in the chat, questions and answers at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of each presentation, we have 2 or 3 minutes to raise questions to the speakers, and probably we have extra time at the end of the whole presentation to discuss and to answer all the questions. That's the best way anyway. The second, who needs a certificate of attendance of the conference will find a link to a form to make a request to the organizers to have this certificate of attendance. In the next days, we put a link in the web page of Ragusa SHWA 2025. And okay, today we have 5 presentations, not 6 as expected, because a couple of days ago we have known that Peter Lundquist, that is an old friend, also him of Ragusa, couldn't join us for personal problem anyway. Yes, for personal and reasons. And so we are sorry for this, but anyway, we have 5 very eminent speakers. And after all the presentation, Massimo Cecchini will give you a presentation of the next conference, the conference in presence in 2026 in Rome and Viterbo. So we can start the seminar now. The first speaker is Carmen JARÉN Ceballos. Carmen has a PhD in agricultural engineering. She is full professor at Public University of Navarra in Spain. Research activity focuses on the field of agricultural mechanization and occupational safety. Has received several awards during his research work, and she is member of Bologna Club, ASABE, and Eurogang, Agroingegneria. She is committee member of the International Fair of Agricultural Machinery of Zaragoza. And the subject of this first presentation is, I think, is central in our work because often we don't know exactly the magnitude of some phenomenon, like one very important problem in agriculture, and that is fatal hazards. And Carmen, in her presentation, give us a broader view of the fatal accident involving agricultural machinery. Please, Carmen, puedes empezar, por favor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to take part in this important event. Today, I'm very pleased to present our work. This study was carried out together with my colleagues in the Public University of Navarra. Although agricultural is often seen as a low-risk sector, accidents including tractor and machinery are actually among the most severe and the most frequent. Official statistics, however, give us only part of the picture size. They exclude self-employed farmers, family members, retired, and people who farm part-time. As a result, many fatal accidents never appear in official reports, but are covered by media. In this study, we use those media reports as an alternative data source for the better understanding of this accident, identify the main cause and the risk factor, and ultimately provide insights to improve prevention and safety in agricultural work. For this study, we collected 20 years of data from 2024 to 2023 on serious and fatal agricultural accidents in Spain, but exclusively from media reports. We deliberately avoided official labor statistics because they excluded many accidents in agriculture. We focus on accidents involving tractor or agricultural machinery using in agricultural activity. Therefore, we exclude non-agricultural use such as civil work. Only fatal accidents were analyzed, since they are far more likely to appear in the media than serious and minor injuries. Then we carry out a descriptive analysis. We recorded 2,182 fatalities involving agricultural machinery. Most victims were men, and only 5% were women. The peak occurred in 27 with 171 deaths, while the lowest is in 2014 with 78. Overall, there is a slight downward trend across the period, suggesting better awareness, safer practice, improving machinery, and significant reduction in the agricultural people. But the sharp peaks remain as the risks remain, and the continuous vigilance is essential. The top left show the monthly distribution of fatal accidents. The pattern is quite consistent. May, June, and July record the highest numbers. This peak is likely to increase in machinery use, long working hours, and offer higher fatigue. In contrast, the winter months have the lowest figures, reflecting reducing field activity. The down left show the distribution of fatal accidents by day of the week. We see that Tuesday is the highest, while Sunday is the lowest. Still, there are fatal accidents on Sunday, which is in principle a no-working day, which means the agricultural and livestock activity continuing over the weekend. The right figure shows the distribution of fatal accidents by time of the day. The highest peak appeared between 4 and 6 p.m. This coincides with the end of the working day, when fatigue, hurry, and reducing attention leads to an increasing risk. Here in this figure, we see the age distribution of the victims. The most striking point is that the majority are over 65 years old, meaning many of them were probably retired. This accident would never have appeared in the official workplace accident statistics. We also found 42 cases under 16 and 26 between 16 and 18 years old. The youngest ones were not workers. They were usually family members, such as a son or a grandson, accompanying an adult during their tasks. These other accidents will not be included in the official data either. Average age of 58.4 years. Overall, 14% bits were over 65. Now, let's focus on the risk factors. On figure, you can see the distribution on fatality according to the type of the vehicle involved. More than half occurred with the tractor, without any other specification. Around 50% involved tractor with a tower implement, and about 12% involving a tractor with a mounted implement. So if we put that together, we see the 80% and on fatality involving agricultural tractor. Next in the list were other vehicles. Now, moving to tower vehicles, as we can see in the left figure. Most, their quarter were standard trailers, followed by slurry tankers and other types of equipment. It's clear that the combination of the tractor and the tower implement can be especially dangerous. Why? Because a tower vehicle has a poor stability, faulty brakes, excessive speed, or an incorrect height connection. All of these can lead to rollover and other serious accidents. At right, 261 cases in which with the tractor carry out mounted machine. In 39%, it was a plug followed by a front loader, a brush cutter, and other in smaller proportion. This figure shows the distribution of fatalities depending on the specific task being carried out at the moment of the accident. The majority occurred while performing agricultural tasks. This is our longest growth, and it tells us something important about where the risks are concentrated. Next, we have 25% during driving activity. Then we see 11% on fatality during maintenance tasks. This clearly signals the need to improve safety during this operation, which are often underestimated in terms of risk, and in a smaller proportion otherwise. This clearly underlines the critical need for safety measures, both in the use and in the handling of agricultural machinery. This slide shows fatality to type of accident with agricultural machinery. The leading cause is rollover, accounting for 59%. That is 1,255 deaths in 20 years. In the next slide, we will look at this rollover accident in more detail. Traffic accidents represent 10%, and they are following in order by run-over and self-runovers, crossing without rollover, entrainment in moving part, falling person on objects, blows, cuts, or extreme situation, and others. But overall, it's clear that road traffic accident and run over is the main risk requiring strict prevention. This slide focuses on the rollover we mentioned earlier, representing 59% of all accidents. Within this rollover, about 26% were caused by ruining of the road. This may result from excessive speed, poor road condition, or lack of skill when driving loading vehicles. Another 23% were related to slopes, 11% to steep gradients and follow to falls over environment, driving too close to field borders. Together, these terrain-related cases make up nearly half of all rollover, showing the critical role of topography in stability. Human factors also appear, manuals and imprudence highlight the importance of the driver behavior, attention, and compliance with safety rules. Another small cause, this remains of that beyond terrain and machinery, the operator's physical condition and environment factors also matter. Preventing rollovers therefore requires a multi-factor approach, combining training, equipment maintenance, safe loading, and careful assessment of terrain and weather. In occupational safety, accidents rarely result from a single cause. They are usually the outcome of multiple factors: human errors, technical failure, environmental conditions, and organizational issues. In agricultural machinery, the same pattern applies. Looking at this slide, we see a various distribution of causes. The most common is running off the road, then accidents like the environment or slopes. Human imprudence follows, including risking behavior passengers on trailers or using unstable equipment. Other causes appear in a smaller proportion: collisions, far from environment, maneuvers, run over, etc. Altogether, this figure highlights these key aspects: terrain condition, vehicle handling, and operator behavior. Given the importance for the reckless behavior, we analyze this accident in more detail. Transporting people in trailers is the leading cause. This is alarming, since trailers are not designed for passengers, making fall or run over very likely. The second cause, the important performance of the tasks, followed by adjusting the tractor at the field boundary. Most of these situations happen when the tractor is motion, making them extremely risky. The key to reducing this accident is training, strict compliance with safety rules, and building a strong prevention culture. In this slide, we see the main cause of traffic accident, in which the main cause are collision with other vehicles, following rear end crash, run off road, loss of control, etc. Altogether, this figure highlights the combination of driver behavior, vehicles control, and environment condition in traffic-related accidents. When analyze fatal accidents in agriculture, we can see that risk from several key factors. The first group of factors related to the terrain, second to the vehicles and the route, third human behavior, traffic condition, weather, and even sudden health issues also contributing only less frequently. So accidents are rarely due to one single cause, but the interaction between terrain, machinery, and operator behavior. To conclude, Fatal accidents in agriculture are strongly linked to tractor and machinery. The main causes are rollover, collision, and unsafe behavior. We have seen that risk factors include the terrain, the load carried, and most importantly, the operator's behavior. This highlights the urgent need for prevention through proper training and strong safety culture and strict compliance with regulations. Only by addressing these aspects together, we can significantly reduce fatality in agricultural work. Beyond offices statistics, using media reports as a source gives us a more complete picture of the fatal accident in agriculture. Unlike official records, media reports include groups normally excluded, such as minors under 16, older farmers over 65, and family members helping informally. The media often provide contextual detail that accident reports may overlook, like the circumstance, behavior, or unuseful practice involved. This broader perspective allows us not only to complement official statistics, but also to identify hidden risks and design stronger, most effective prevention strategies. Well, that is all for me. Thank you for your attention, and see you right all SHWA next year.
Thank you, Carmen. Very interesting presentation. I repeat, this is a central point in our work because this is the same situation. We have the same situation in Italy. The problem is under-evaluated, and also on the media, probably the agricultural problems are less, are in second place in the news. But we know that the fatal accidents are very, very frequent, especially for the rollover of the tractor. That's the most important. I think that it is really bad that so old law. So the law related to the rollover to the I don't remember the name of the roll bar. Open the roll bar and fasten the seat belts. It's completely missing, and that's it's probably a problem. Okay, we have I think questions probably from Massimo, not other questions from participant.
Yes, just a curiosity. You have shown us that even in Spain, the leading cause of death is the rollover. In Italy, we often see tractors on the roads with the rollover protective structures kept horizontal or completely absent. Even when they pass in front of the police check. Is this also the case in Spain?
It's similar. It's similar in Spain. It's the same case. The rollover, the problem of the rollover, I think, is similar in our countries. No rollover, the seatbelt and the driving with the tractor, a lot of cage. Load.
Thank you.
How many load?
Gianpaolo.
Yes, I have a very little question about your job that is very, very interesting and full of great information, very useful information. And I have a little question. I remember that when searching online for accidents involving round baler, I found many accidents related to the transport of roundabouts with unsuitable trailers or tied with unsuitable ropes, a sort of serendipity. Have you ever discovered types of accidents you didn't expect while looking for other?
Yes, we see the same. Trailers with very, very bad the brakes bad, a lot of load, a lot of speed.
Yeah.
Etcétera.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you again, Carmen. And now it's the turn of Claudio Colosio. Claudio Colosio couldn't join us, so he sent a recorded video. Anyway, Claudio Colosio is a friend of Ragusa, as we said before. We have collaborated with him in 2015 when our conference joined the Rural Health Conference in Lodi. Colosio has a PhD in occupational medicine and industrial hygiene. He is associate professor of occupational medicine at University of Milan, and he is director of the occupational medicine unit and of the International Center for Rural Health of WHO. So I think Massimo is can show the video.
Yes.
Okay. And the title of the presentation is New Prospect for Primary Health Care in Rural Areas, Objective and Tasks for International Organizations.
Colleagues, I'm sorry for sending you a record of my presentation, but I am afraid that since on the day of our Congress, I will not be in Italy, maybe where I will be, I will not be able to connect. If I will be able, we will not see this presentation, but me in person talking with you. I want to thank my friend, Professor Schillaci, and the organizers for this invitation. Maybe you know I'm a good friend of your network since several years, and I have also organized with you some very nice events. So I'm happy to be again home. What I plan to discuss with you today. As agreed with the organizers, this is a topic of my presentation, and it is the new prospect for primary care in rural areas, taking into account the role of international governmental and non-governmental organizations. These are the points I will raise. Some definitions of primary care, the main problem present in rural areas, possible solutions in terms of structures able to be provider of healthcare to the population, the actors, the need of a specific expertise in public health, and some conclusions. So, I want to take a definition globally accepted coming from Oxford Languages. Healthcare, primary care is healthcare provided in the community for people making an initial approach to a medical practitioner or clinical for advice or treatment. So don't forget this starting point. Primary healthcare is the first contact within a person and the healthcare system. How is supposed to be primary healthcare? There is the Almata definition 1978, which says that primary care may be essential, must be practical, scientifically sound, and socially acceptable for methods and technology, must be universally accessible to individuals and family in the community, may have costs that community and countries can afford, and must be the first level of contact, as I told you, between national health system and individuals, family and community. So the main task for people dealing with prevention and care is bring healthcare as close as possible to where people live and work. We do not ask people to reach the healthcare system. We want to make the healthcare system reaching people. Which are the main targets in rural area? Rural workers, not only agricultural workers, rural workers as a whole. I want to tell you that I visited, for example, brick production in India, where the oldest worker present in the enterprise was 13, 14 years old. So very often in rural areas there is a problem of child working. Rural population with all related problems, elderly, sick people, etc., and environment. These are the components of rural area. And which are the main problems in rural area? There is a poor access into welfare structure for remoteness and big distances. I want to give you an example. It is well known that, for example, during pregnancy, a woman living in town get more ultrasound checks than a woman living in rural areas. Maybe the woman living in rural areas does not get any ultrasound assessment during the whole pregnancy. There is a limited number of rural doctors and occupational physicians. Existing structures are not adequate, and the services offered are often characterized by limited quality. So, what can we do, and what I want to propose in this presentation? It is necessary to create a network of collaboration between local communities and representatives. Employers and employees organizations were present, rural general practitioners, rural occupational physicians, and environmental health experts. So you too, even if I know very well most of you are not medical doctor, all of you have a role in this plan. Then it is necessary to create structures adequate to improve the access of rural citizens and workers in the healthcare system in the frame of a global public health project. With the keyword, the basis, that is One Health approach. One Health means that the health of the animals, the health of humans, and the health of the environment are strongly linked each other. In order to do it, is necessary to involve all the main actors present. As I told you, mainly we can identify rural general practitioners, rural occupational physician, and also a profile often neglected but very important, that is the profile of the rural nurse. Then structures able to promote the increase of coverage. We have recently had a meeting with different organizations active in rural areas, and we proposed two types of structures. One is the so-called basic occupational services, which have a very long tradition and are aimed at reaching workers at their workplace, even in remote areas. The second idea is basic healthcare centers. This is something new. as definition, but not so new in practice, because I've seen similar structures in Thailand, for example, when I visited an Ayutthaya rural center, similar structures in India, and also in Iran there are structures of this kind. So I start with this structure because I was talking about this. General practice at the village with different levels of organization and complexity based on local needs, but necessarily able to offer dentistry care, essential pharmaceutical products, vaccines, and maybe you think this is simple, but if you go to some rural areas in the world, you can understand that it is not so simple. For example, think at rural areas in India, and a big country like India. Of course, other profiles are necessary, for example, rural veterinarians and other environmental health experts based on local needs. As for basic occupational services, we see 4 levels. From the first, that is very simple, which works in the territory and can be based on the activity of a single nurse specialized in dealing with workers. At stage 2, there is some more infrastructure, some more instruments, and also personnel made of physician and nurse, of course, occupational physician, possibly, and nurse training in occupational safety. Stage 3 is international standard service according to ILO Convention number 151, content preventive, but also, if necessary, curative services. And finally, stage 4 is a comprehensive structure with very broad equipment, very well equipped with personnel able to serve as a support for the lower levels of basic services. Okay, this is the idea. Which are the 2 main components of primary care? General practice and occupational physician. I want to tell you that in some areas of the world where occupational physicians lacks, it is important to provide general practitioners with capacities adequate to face with workers' problem. Because if they are not occupational physician, the task of creating occupational physician is a long-term task. It is necessary to keep universities, to collect expertise, to organize courses. So it's necessary to make general practitioner able to follow workers in the workplace. And then there are occupational physicians. In some areas, I've seen that there are not plenty of of general practitioners, but here occupational physician does a job that is typical of general practitioners. For example, in Costa Rica plantation, the occupational physician follow not only the workers, but also their families, mother, father of the workers, kids, the elderly, etc. And so you can understand what I mean when I say that the primary care is made by these 2 profiles. So, which are the organization which can work on the objectives already shown to you? I want to remind you that there is the VONCA. VONCA is a big organization, a world organization of family doctors made of more than 300,000 registered members. And Vonca has a rural health party, and the Vonca rural health party deals specifically with rural areas problem. Europe is European, so for those of you who live in Europe, it is important to know that there is a European Rural and Isolated Practitioner Association. Europe has a big network. I am also member of the International Advisory Board of Eureka, and Eureka give advice and provide framework for discussion to general practitioner dealing in Europe with the rural areas. And finally, I want to remember you our association. I am an occupational physician. Our association is the International Commission on Occupational Health (ICO). You can go to visit the website, and the International Commission of Occupational Health is made not only of occupational physicians, but also of experts in prevention at the workplace and rural and occupational nursing. We are trying now to create an expertise truly addressed the public health that, to my opinion, is for the time being missing, able to provide structure and organization. This is International Association of Rural Health on the medicine. Next year we will have a congress in Beijing. I invite you to participate. I've been for 3 years president of the association, and we are trying to put our efforts together with occupational physician, general practitioner, to give a strong input on rural health and public health plans. So rural areas, there is more to do than people able to do. So we must make stronger the collaboration. 3 main field of actions: general practitioner, occupational health, and public health. There is a need of stronger actors in the field. And so the collaboration between Vonca, Rural Party, Europe, and IARM is fundamental. And the last point before finishing my presentation is the need of having the support and the guidance of the big international organizations such as WHO, World Health Organization, and International Labour Organization. This is the only way to substantially really promote the health and well-being of rural population. Of course, I expect that SHWA can take a role in this network, and I'm very willing to help you in getting in touch with this big rural health network where a strong input from experts and of activities is needed. I really thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, many thanks to Claudio Colosio for this global view of the rural health, and even from a distance, thanks, Colosio. Yeah, we can say as a SHWA group that we are really interested in following his last invitation. We are really interested in being part of scientific networks that address these topics, these important topics. Okay, so if you have questions to Colosio, I think that the best way is to contact us by email or write the questions here in the same place in questions and answers, and we can send him by email in the next days. I think we can contact him to answer questions, or if you have comments, everything. It's time for the next speaker, SERAP GORUCU. Sorry for the pronunciation. Anyway, she's a professor at the University of Florida in USA, as a PhD in biosystem engineering, and she's a member of International Society for Agricultural Safety and Health. And her research has been focused on agricultural engineering surveillance and other themes related to safety in agriculture. And please, SERAP, the title of her presentation is Agricultural Safety and Health, Prevention to Recovery.
Thank you, Marcelo. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you, the organizing committee, for the invitation. I am happy to be part of this SHWA group. As Dr. Marcelo said, I'm Dr. SERAP GORUCU. I'm an assistant professor in the Agricultural and Biological Engineering Department at the University of Florida. I'm serving as the state specialist for agricultural safety and health. I'm interested in obtaining and quantifying agricultural injuries, and I'm also interested in working non-intrusive ways of detecting hazards and ergonomic risk assessments. I have also a program for inmates to teach farming, ranching, and farm operations for their future employment opportunities. Next, please. Today, I'm going to talk a little about the scope of agricultural injuries, how big they are, how many injuries we are seeing in the United States. And I will briefly walk through the leading causes of these injuries and highlight some outreach efforts and introduce resources available to support recovery for farmers who got affected by agricultural injuries. Next, please. Agriculture, as you know, is the one of the most hazardous industries in the United States. In 2023, there were 448 reported fatalities in agriculture, forestry, and fishing industry. This means that the fatality rate is 20 per 100,000 full-time workers. The overall fatality rate for all industries in the United States in 2023 is 3.45 fatalities per 100,000 full-time equivalent workers. That means that agricultural industry is almost 6 times more hazardous than and more fatal than all other industries. But when we look at the just fatalities are not the only part of the story. We have also non-fatal injuries. They are significantly underreported, and they result in very life-changing and life-altering consequences. And these underreported non-fatal injuries, it's almost 77% underreported, and it makes us too difficult to understand the true scope of the problem. Next, please. Next slide. Okay. So when we look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics census of occupational fatalities, we see that, as Carmen mentioned, in Spain, the vehicles, agricultural vehicles, they are the major cause of those fatal injuries. Almost 48% of the fatalities are caused by like tractors, ATVs, trucks, those vehicles used in agriculture. And 22% of the fatalities, they were resulted from animal activities, animal cares, plants, or other people. It means that some other people, homicides, or personal violence between the workers, they are also 22%. And 12% are machinery related. These can be combines or power takeoff related. fatalities. So these numbers clearly shows that we need to focus on our safety efforts, particularly in vehicles and machinery. Next, please. Of course, besides those incidents happen in agriculture, some of them result in fatalities, and some of them, they result in some very severe injuries. Occupational Safety and Health Administration in the US, they started collecting data for severe occupational injuries. So if someone has amputations and work-related hospitalizations or losing an eye, the employers, they have to report those injuries to Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So this data shows over a decade of the number of severe injuries from 2015 to 2024. And as you see, the number of severe injuries, they dropped significantly during 2020. This might be because of the COVID effects. And the total number of severe injuries, they were 1,737 severe injuries. And the orange part, if you look at the orange part, it shows the all amputation. So it means that those people, individuals, they had lost one of their limbs. It means that they are amputated, and then these injuries, they have to change the way they are doing their work or their living. So these are the life-changing and life-altering injuries. So when we, next please. So when we look at the agricultural safety, we need to also look at the big picture, the continuum from prevention to recovery. So this side, on the left side, you see right now, I try to list the possible hazards in agriculture. These can be machinery, vehicles, chemicals, or repetitive labor, or environmental hazards. This can be heat-related hazards. And these injuries, they lead to injuries and illnesses and disabilities over the time. It's a little small, but I listed also the hazard control hierarchy of controls. So these hazards, they can be reduced by elimination or substituting the hazards. And we can apply some engineering controls, administrative controls. We can provide education and training, and also we can suggest using personal protective equipment to eliminate or to prevent those injuries. But even if we do this, sometimes injuries and injury events and unwanted events, they happen. So what happens? What are the consequences of those injuries? They can result in death, and if that is the case, there is no way for us to help those people, or they can result in severe injuries or disabilities. So this is the time where agribility comes in. Agribility programs supports injured farmers through education, direct assistance, and access to assistive technology, and help them adapt and continue farming with their disabilities. This continuum shows that safety isn't just about avoiding injury, it's also about supporting recovery when it is needed. So a complete approach is necessary for agricultural safety, and we need to include prevention and recovery. Many farmers, after they injured, they continue working in case they, even though they have in pain. As you know, farmers never get retired. If they have an injury, there should be always a way for them to continue farming. So AgriAbility finds and helps them to find the tools and resources for their continuation. Next one, please. AgriAbility program is a federally funded initiative, improves the quality of life for farmers, ranchers, and agricultural workers and farm families with disabilities. It is a partnership between land-grant universities in the US and nonprofit disability organizations. And together with the nonprofit or disability organization and university partnership, they combine agricultural expertise with rehabilitation services, and they help. We try to help individuals, those farmers, to continue working safely and successfully in agriculture. This map shows the national reach of AgriAbility, national coverage, and the states shown in yellow have an active USDA-funded, United States Department of Agriculture funded AgriAbility projects, and states in light gray have affiliate projects. Those affiliate projects, they offer limited services, not everything. And the states in dark gray currently have no AgriAbility programs. And actually, we need these programs in each state. Not this should be part of the state's programs, and federally making it a little harder to continue these recovery efforts. Next, please. In Florida, since I'm in Florida, I'm going to talk a little about Florida efforts for AgriAbility programs. We applied for this program in 2021, and we received the funding in 2022. And we are partnering with Center for Independent Living, and we are trying to help farmers and farm workers with disability injuries and illnesses. Next, please. AgriAbility services we are serving, we have education, networking, direct assistance, and marketing efforts. These are the key program, key service areas. In education, we provide some training sessions, we organize webinars, and we provide educational materials. And for networking, we make connections with agricultural and disability organizations for them to get the full benefit. And direct assistance is the key part of the AgriAbility programs. We provide free on-site evaluations and provide some recommendations and solutions. And the last one is marketing. We try to raise awareness in through media events and outreach to raise awareness in disability in agriculture. These are the 4 pillars guide our work in supporting farmers across the state. Next, please. Next one. Okay. So our services are, we don't charge anything to our farmers. These no-cost services can be worksite assessments. We have a program coordinator visiting farmers to provide and to assess the need for the farmer, what their disability are. And she creates a report with recommendations for assistive technology. And with the assistive technology adaptation guidance, we help them if they are provided as an assistive technology. We provide guidance, and we help finding funding opportunities for their tools. AgriAbility does not directly purchase equipment. There's no way. But we have vocational rehabilitation programs in each state, and these vocational rehabilitation programs, they support people with disabilities, and they remove the barrier for their employment. Next one, please. I try to put some assistive technology examples. The first one on the left side, top left, is the beehive lifter. And the second one, you see the handle. If someone cannot use their feet to control the tractor, there is you can attach some controls, hand-controlled tools to control the tractor. And there are some lifts for individuals who cannot use their like lower limbs. They can use these lifts to get in and get out from the tractor. And these are the ergonomics tools at the bottom. You can see many of the examples on the links provided in the slides. Next one, please. So this is a real story. This person, Massimo is going to show soon, she is a farmer, but during the harvest season, she lost her one of her arm and leg, and let's play that.
My name's Lori Hain. On September 18th of 2018, on the second day of harvest, unfortunately, I got in front of the combine, got swept up into it, and lost my left arm and my whole leg. So Steve came out from Agribility to look at the tractor. We found out all the finger controls were on the right. I didn't need anything as far as driver's assistance. I just needed help getting in.
With the assistance of Life Essentials, we came with the platform lift. Now they can't keep it down.
They're amazing at helping you get back going again. They go through the stuff that you want to do and how you can do it, how they can help you do it easier. Definitely reach out to Agribility.
Yes, thank you, Massimo. As you see, there is always a way to help a person to continue their meaningful, purposeful agricultural journey. So this is these modifications and making it possible for Lori to continue farming and provides independence for her. So to wrap up, agriculture, as you know, it's remaining one of the most hazardous industries and with high rates of fatal and non-fatal injuries. And prevention is essential, but we also need to look at the recovery. For those who are injured, support systems like Agribility make it possible to return to a meaningful and purposeful, productive work. And these efforts are not just about safety, they are about the purpose and long-term resilience in farming communities. So that's all. And thank you very much for your attention. I can take any questions right now if you have time.
Are there any questions? Anyway, like in the previous the previous speaker, you can also write the question after during the seminar, and for SERAP it is possible to write an answer. Thank you very much, SERAP. Very interesting presentation. I have a question. Are these programs affected by the new administration, by new federal administration? Because we are some, let me say, bad news about all the public administration in the USA was very affected, including some program related to the safety in agriculture. Yeah, you're right. So there was a time period with uncertainties, and thankfully we resolved those issues, and there is a continuation. We keep working at least one more year. We know that. Yeah. Another quick question. I was shocked by the number of accidents, of fatal accidents from people, animal, and plants, 22%. I'm curious to know which is the contribution of each of these, because plants probably are trees in forests. Animals, I can imagine USA as important is the livestock, and so bulls, horses, and so on. But people, how much people kill? How many people kill other colleagues during the war?
Sometimes, like people-related injuries, they can be intentional or non-intentional.
Unintentional, sure.
It can be
Okay.
unintentionally hurting people, dropping something on somebody.
Yes.
It can be or hitting somebody. It's
Yes, I
possible.
understand.
Yeah.
I have a view like a far Western movie, so people are shooting at the other. It's a no, probably we are must. Okay, sorry for this, and
Thank you.
I think we are going to the next speaker, and she is Barbara Lee. Barbara has an impressive curriculum. I have some difficulty to resume. Anyway, she is now an emeritus research scientist at Marshfield Clinical Research Institute in Wisconsin, in USA. She was a director at the National Center for Rural and Agricultural Safety, and in 1996, she led the development of the first national action plan for protecting children in agriculture. She also helped start a non-profit group called the Agricultural Safety and Health Council of America. And now she's researching the legal side of child farm accidents. In few words, she spent her career protecting kids on farms. And Barbara, there are probably you can read in the questions and answer chat some other questions related to this work, because Carmen in the first presentation raised some data, showed some data about the accidents to young people, to children, and this was very was catch from the participants, and there were some questions about this. Anyway, so the title of your presentation, that is very beautiful, is Parent First, Farmer Second, Safeguarding Youth in Agriculture.
Okay, so how am I doing with the screen? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me as part of this event. And I did not read through the questions in the chat box, so I'll do that when I'm finished with my presentation. So I just want to say, first of all, this is really exciting to get together with this group of people in your organization. And my own career spans nearly 40 years of addressing children and farm safety. And across the globe, we know that farming and agriculture is the most dangerous place for children to be, the most common way that kids die or are injured in an occupational setting. And that comprises about 5 to 10% of the people across the globe when we look at national statistics. So our national, let's see if I can, I'm trying to get my slide to move. Our National Children's Center was established in 1997 in the heart of Wisconsin, and we have federal funding. And like SERAP said, our funding is in jeopardy. We just received approval for 1 more year at the most. So there's many concerns about the future of this work that has been going on for a long time. But I want to start with a basic terminology, and I know several people have been using the word accidents, and it's kind of tricky to explain this, like in terms of translating into other languages. But in the US, we are trying very hard to follow industry standards by avoiding the word accident, because typically it implies it's an act of God and it's not preventable. And we know better than that. So in the case of injuries and deaths of children, it is especially important to avoid using this word, because adults, and mostly parents, need to be understand that they are responsible for safeguarding children, and there are ways to prevent these injuries. So I'm going to share just a little bit about statistics. And worldwide, we know we have a little bit of information about agriculture being dangerous for children, either as workers, but even more as bystanders. And our data are really spotty and flawed. We don't have any good numbers. But in the US, we had been collecting data for about 10 years, but the data collection was stopped because of financial reasons. So our best estimates per year in the US are about 100 deaths and 13,000 injuries of kids less than 18 years old. And males predominate, and younger than 5 years old predominate the data. And about 60% of the time, these children are not working. So that means like some of our engineering approaches don't always work, you know. But I do want to refer you to our 2023 collection of papers from 15 countries. We did a special issue of Frontiers in Public Health, have 28 papers published representing 15 different countries. And what we learned from that, looking across the different reports, all countries reported the common theme of a lack of public policy or regulations. And within the countries, the injuries and deaths were mostly related to whatever type of farming was going on in that region. A lot of things like ATVs, though, and small tractors. So what approaches have worked for protecting children? First of all, the standard approach on the safety hierarchy of needs suggests we engineer out the problem and remove children from the hazard. For young children, we promote gated or fenced-in play areas away from the farm work. And we have thousands of educational resources and programs, and some of them do show modest success. But at the same time, the culture of agriculture is such that longstanding traditions and practices kind of challenge our strategies. And we get pushback from what we call the farm kid paradox, where parents and farmers tend to believe that the benefits of having children on the farm far outweigh their risk of being injured. So that's difficult to overcome. And at the same time, we have the issue of policies, regulations, standards that do work in other industries, such as transportation or manufacturing, but these are difficult to adopt or even try to get through in terms of agriculture. So I want to suggest a new paradigm, and it might be somewhat controversial, but I think we need to keep the same effective strategies working, but at the same time, based on my experience, we need to acknowledge there's an exceptionalism in certain privileges that farm parents are given, at least in the United States. And research has shown that despite knowing how dangerous farming is, parents do not perceive their own kids to be at risk. They always think something's going to happen to the neighbors, but it just won't happen on our farm. And they also believe that their own kids are developing common sense, and they'll be smart enough to avoid anything that's hazardous on their farm. And at the same time, for the little ones, parents will report that it's very difficult to find affordable and available childcare for the kids to be off of the farm. So we have to acknowledge that farming and parenting has a lot of cultural influences, a lot of challenges, and a lot of stresses on farm parents. But then when we compare this across all settings of parenting, we have to ask, do parents on farms have special privileges? And do kids growing up on farms have fewer safeguards than kids who are not on farms? A few years ago, we launched a campaign to promote farm safety, and our focus groups revealed exactly what the research showed, that farm parents have many different responsibilities. They often feel obligated to save their farm enterprise, and they feel conflicted when they need to mix farming with parenting. And these posters of parent first, farmer second kind of list out, okay, I am a mechanic, a handyman, a plumber, I'm all that, and I'm raising corn, dairy cows, or soybeans. But in the end, I need to set my priorities. I need to be a farm parent first and a farmer second. So we had many farm magazines that posted these in their news, but unfortunately, we never evaluated to see if this had an impact on people's understandings or beliefs. So turning to the legal system, I asked the question, when a child is left alone in a barn or asked to operate equipment beyond their skills, what constitutes neglect or recklessness on the part of an adult? And then compare that to parents held legally accountable when a child dies in a hot, maybe confined car, or parents fail to use auto safety seats for an infant, or perhaps they leave a child home alone and a fire erupts. We know that in many cases, in most of these cases, the parents are held legally responsible for what happens to the child. So we reviewed 457 news in our news report, our egg injury news, over a 6-year period. And what we found was very interesting that some of these events were investigated, but only 12 of these cases over the 6-year period actually led to criminal charges being filed. So that's 2 cases per year in agriculture, which is contrasted with thousands in non-agriculture. And there's a lot of reasons for them, why that happens. But our in-depth review of these legal cases with penalties that were based on either public trials or plea deals showed some common features of why farm parents were charged with a crime of recklessness. And then we reviewed the penalties that followed. So most often, an adult was charged with a crime if there had been previous injuries or deaths on that same farm, or if there were more than one child involved in a single event. And then we also found that it could be the case that the parent or adult was intoxicated when the event occurred, or they were just goofing off and having fun, sometimes putting several kids into the front end bucket of a tractor just for a joyride. And then another factor was with certain communities, such as the Amish, where there were repeated times on different farms that a child died, and common practice is putting an open cart between a horse and a wagon and letting the child just sort of like sit on that cart while they're working. And then we looked at the common penalties when there was a charge. We found that they're not trying to put somebody in jail, and they rarely have a financial penalty, but they try a different strategy, which is requiring the parents to have parenting classes or community service. Many times they have a farm safety audit if there was a safety professional available to do that. And then more recently, there's been a requirement for public speaking. And it's not to speak about farm safety because they weren't safe and maybe they've learned a lesson, but really to talk about the impact of the unsafe behavior and who is impacted by that. And that brings me to the concept of restorative justice. The illustration here kind of explains things, that this is a philosophical approach that's been used in crime, or that it's to resolve crime after the fact, and it focuses on the harm caused and possible solutions. It brings together individuals or survivors, the responsible party, and the community to acknowledge the harm that was caused and to suggest solutions. Who's been hurt? What are their needs? Whose obligation is it to address these needs? And now many law schools provide training for public defenders and prison personnel. And I even noted a program now in Eastern Sicily, which is part of the penal system. So restorative justice has been shown to be successful, and it's been developing and growing in popularity for almost 40 years now. They use it for things like prison rehabilitation, domestic violence, and outreach to gangs on the streets. And the goal is to promote social inclusion, psychological support, and to reduce recidivism or repeat offenses. It's based on respect and dignity for all impacted, including the responsible person. And for a child death, a group of about 10 people, including the responsible person, family members, and community representatives will meet in a session with a trained moderator, and they each discuss the harm they experience. So for example, a first responder might explain that they're having nightmares about removing a child's body from some farm machinery, or school friends might just talk about how they're grieving at the loss of their friend. So together they acknowledge the different experiences, and then together they suggest a process and a plan to reduce their own negative feelings and to suggest a solution that's going to safeguard children in the future. So my take-home message is that while we've made great progress in improving safety for workers in agriculture, we're struggling to see the same progress and success when it comes to children, especially non-working children on farms. So parents and farms adults should be held to the same standards as parents across all walks of life. And parenting must be a priority over farm work, because when it is not the priority, children are the victims of preventable injuries and deaths. So we know that restorative justice is a new way of addressing problems and unsafe behaviors, and it's been successful in many situations. And my own goal is to see it being adopted more often in cases with farm families, to help them come together and really have an impact on the culture of the community around them. So yeah, thank you for letting me share my story about children, agriculture, and sort of a new way of looking at an old problem. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Really interesting. Yes, we are a little late, but we have time for questions as before. Anyway, if there are no questions now, also from the other colleagues. Okay, Giampaolo has a question. Giampaolo?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
A great
okay.
presentation, Barbara. I think that parent first and farmer second could be a great motto for the present, for the future, and for us that work in agriculture. And we are in contact, with family in a rural areas. So it's very, very extremely important to study very well the behavior in that environment. And yes, my very little question is how important could a periodic safety audit be? And what kind of expertise we need to have a good audit?
So it's a good question, like what type of safety audit is needed? That's one thing, is to make the farm safe for the adult. And if it's safe for the adult, it might be safe for the child too. And the problem that we have, and we do have like checklists, so somebody can walk through their farm and see, is this safe for children, whether it's the fencing or the wiring or what. But then it's like, what are they going to do about it? And can they afford to do anything about it? And do they have the will or the time? So it's kind of like problems you have with any kind of parenting. You've got to find the time, you have to have the money and the resources. And it's very difficult in agriculture. And most of the events that we have are on economically depressed farms, people that just are struggling to get by, and maybe they can't afford childcare. The case that I recently worked with, the mother left, and it was a single father with 5 kids, and he wanted to keep the farm going and had all of his boys doing things with them, and 3 of them were seriously injured, and then 1 died. So it's like they have to make these difficult choices. So there's no easy answer.
Okay, Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. It's very important to follow our effort, our study about the topic. It's very important. Thank you, because children risk a lot in rural area, a lot during the job and at the end of the job. They risk a lot of risk are all on children, not only during the job. Thank you, Barbara.
Yes, and I would just add, there were several references to COVID in the research that we found was during COVID, when children were home, they were actually doing more farm work and their injuries seemed to go up as well, just because they were not away at school. So, you know, and we can't blame it all on parents, because typically these kids want to do these things. They love jumping on the tractor. They love, you know, being challenged to do something new with some new machinery. But that's where it really comes back to the parents really thinking everything through in advance and making sound decisions, not like snap decisions when, you know, when the harvest time comes or something like that.
Thank you, Barbara. Marcello.
Thank you again, Barbara. And so it's the time for the last speaker. Roberto SCAVIZZI is a lecturer at the University of La Sapienza in Rome and Lewis University in Rome. And his presentation deals with artificial intelligence. You know, it's a technology that today is everywhere, affects every aspect of our life, including safety and health. And the title of his presentation is Workplace Safety and Artificial Intelligence, a rapidly evolving combination. Please, Roberto.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this interesting initiative for the kind invitation, as well as the distinguished speakers who have spoken before me and those who will speak after me. The object of my presentation is, as you can see, it's the application of artificial intelligence to health and safety environment, and in general to agricultural sector, of course. So the use of machine, but first of all, how to manage the situation about individuals, because we know that artificial intelligence can strongly impact on individuals. First of all, I'd like to say something about artificial intelligence. Now we have, in Europe, we have a very important law, a regulation, EU regulation. So everything is based on risk-based thinking. So the regulatory framework defines 4 levels of risk in artificial intelligence. So we have unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, or little or no risk. The law has been designed on this kind of principles, and when we apply the law to the artificial intelligence, we have to think that there is always a management system. We have to design a management system, apply to the organization. And in this case, there are a series of obligations for the employer. For example, the training, specific training has to be provided, and specific individuals with special skills has to be recruited, and etc. But I'll try to summarize, because this regulation is very, I have to say, there are a lot of prescriptions. So I will try to give you the most important information. For example, how does it all work in practice for providers of high-risk AI systems? We have different steps. Step 1, a high-risk AI system is developed. It needs the step 2 to undergo the conformity assessment and comply with AI requirements. For example, for some systems, a notified body is involved too. There are institutions and bodies which have to control, people and deployers and individuals using AI systems. Registration of standalone AI systems in EU database. In Europe, we have an EU database, and everything has been registered. Everything has to be controlled on this field. Step 4, a declaration of conformity needs to be signed, and the AI system should bear the CE marking. The system can be placed on the market after this kind of step. Of course, if substantial changes happen in the AI system's life cycle, we go back to the step 2. The white paper on artificial intelligence, the EU on artificial intelligence, believes that a European approach to excellence and trust is needed for non-anthropocentric artificial intelligence. So this law thinks that all the system has to be concentrated, has to be focused on the individual, on the human being. It's a challenge, but this is the goal of the EU legislator. 7 basic requirements of artificial intelligence. So the Commission has published a communication welcoming the 7 key requirements identified in the high-level expert group's guidelines. First of all, the AI system has to respect the human intervention and surveillance principle. We need to control always this system. Technical robustness and safety. Of course, in order to adopt and to use this AI system, it's very, very important to create systems absolutely control and safety. Data privacy and governance. In Europe, this point is very, very important because it is possible to use the artificial intelligence also in the agricultural sector, but be careful because we have to respect all the data privacy legislation. So it's an harmonization between the technical aspect and the data privacy legislation, the principles of data privacy. Transparency, this means that you need to understand always what happens. You need to the system has to be observed continuously. The individuals has the right to observe and to understand how this system is working. Diversity, non-discrimination, and equity. This means that, for example, if we have a system which is able to decide if you can work or you cannot work, if you have this requirement or you don't have this requirement, you don't meet the requirements. Of course, the system has to be based on this kind of principle. No diversity, diversity has to be considered, non-discrimination and equity. Decision can be taken by applying this kind of principle. Social and environmental well-being, of course, and accountability check. Accountability means that always as who is using this system has to be able to evidence what is doing with documentation and something like with evidence. The difficult verification of compliance. So the specific characteristic of many AI technologies, including opacity, the black box effect. This cannot be possible because when you cannot read, you cannot understand deeply the meaning and how this system works. In this case, this system cannot be considered usable. And in this case, it will be possible to highlight this kind of problems. So in this case, can make it difficult to verify compliance with existing EU legislation protecting fundamental rights and can hinder its effective enforcement. What is an AI system? So we read together the definition, but honestly, on this point, legislators and all the doctrine and the other experts try to find, a common point. But I mean, like all the definition, we have to accept what the legislator has done. So an automated system designed to operate with very varying levels of autonomy and which may exhibit adaptability after deployment and which, for explicit or implicit objectives, infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as forecasts, for example, content, recommendations, or decisions that may affect physical or virtual environments. This is the meaning. This is the definition. You can imagine how many problems can produce this kind we can have by using this kind of systems. So AI applications to the world of occupational safety and also to the world of agricultural sectors. So health and safety and the technology. Automation technologies have added further complexity to the organization. So the interaction of machines with humans requires companies to pay even more attention to health and safety in industrial environments. For example, real-time location, very important solution. So, however, the technologies also offer support to companies in protecting the health and safety of workers and compliance with current regulations. This is the case with Internet of Things technologies, and in particular, real-time location systems, RTLS, which help to significantly reduce the risk of accidents. This is one of the applications of artificial intelligence and instruments like this. Internet of Things technologies are becoming increasingly popular in industrial environments. The ability to constantly monitor data relating to production environments and machinery allows, in fact, to manage the plant and all processes more efficiently. So, Internet of Things and real-time locating system through the integration of solutions based on the industrial Internet of Things with RTLS devices, of course, concrete improvements can be achieved in the functionings of the organization. Indeed, by using these devices, it is possible, for example, to locate directly or indirectly and track operators, machinery, and objects. This is marvelous, no? Because we think immediately about all the health and safety problems. Yes, marvelous, but in Europe, we have to be very careful because we need to apply the privacy law and at the same time, this kind of technology. So the harmonization is very important because in some cases, this kind of application can be considered not illegal in some particular cases. So massive tracking, for example, RTLS devices use a variety of technologies, for example, Bluetooth, GPS, or ultra-wideband, to detect the position of operators and machinery within company areas. The use of such devices allows real-time and uninterrupted tracking of operators and machines throughout the working day. Okay, marvelous, but I repeat, be careful because we have to consider always the privacy law and of course, also the provisions of our Garante della Privacy, our authority, Italian authority, which is very severe on this point. And in Europe in general, because as you know, the General Data Protection Regulation has been applying since 2018 in all the nations, no? all the member states of the EU member states. Operator privacy, direct tracking of operators through the aforementioned devices makes it possible to improve the health and safety of workers in the workplace. This objective must be pursued in full respect of the privacy of operators. This is the critical point. In this sense, the devices in question could allow the worker to check the correct use, whether he wears it or not, whether he wears it correctly, whether his vital parameters are in order, and etc., of personal protective equipment or the verification of his state of health. excellent. We can do it, but with some limitation and being always very careful. This can be done. For example, this is a classic example of cooperation between some particular lawyers, of course, specialized in this field, and technicians, engineers, and etc., etc. Or using RTLS. In addition, these technologies are able to optimize and rationalize the management of the organization spaces. You see that it's very interesting because now we have like a meeting of different disciplines, and we have to apply in a very harmonic way these different disciplines. For example, these devices make it possible to manage and regulate access to certain areas of the company without the need to resort to physical barriers. This technological organizational choice allows faster and more effective assistance of workers and operators in the event of accidents. Think of workers who work alone. Now think about this kind of situation. These devices provide for the two-way sending of alarms, signals, and calls. Monitoring and tracking. The injured operator who remains conscious can use the RTLS device to call for help. Even if the operator were to lose consciousness, these devices would still allow the monitoring and tracking of the man unconscious circumstance, sending the distress call in any case. These systems make it possible to increase the level of safety even for those operators who operate alone and in isolated areas. Safer human-machine interaction. So the coexistence of machines and operators within the organization creates the risk of collisions. Another critical point, RTLS systems installed on handling vehicles circulating within the organization can be useful in significantly reducing the type and number of accidents. The criticalities in terms of privacy. We try to focus on this very important point. According to the time that I have, I will try to summarize this point. An highly accurate position detection system allows such systems to calculate and detect the distance between two vehicles or between a vehicle and the operator with extreme precision, accuracy, and in a real time. When this distance is reduced, both the device on the vehicle and the one with which the operator is equipped warn of the danger. It's a classic use of this system. If the distance is further reduced, the system can even intervene to reduce the speed of the vehicle. This, of course, involves a series of critical issues in terms of the correct application of the legislation protecting the privacy of the worker, in particular, according to the Article 4 of the Worker Statutes in conjunction with the GDPR. It's very important. In Italy, for example, this is a very critical point because in Italy we have a strong law, a very important law protecting the workers, protecting his personal data, but also his personal sphere, we could say. Again, RTLS systems include, in addition to devices, also location software that uses data collected from devices to provide strategic information. This may include, for example, the analysis of the composition of a work team or the inventory of the handling equipment present in the plants. So by using these systems, the company can analyze the transit flows in the different areas of the plants to redesign the spaces with a view to greater safety and efficiency. Again, the same considerations can also be made with regard to the relationships concerning the so-called near misses, so the near misses. No, we know this kind of expression. From the detection and tracking of these events, it is then possible to identify critical areas of the company in order to intervene with timely changes to the organizational architecture and help the company intervene before an accident occurs. What are the benefits? Using AI systems in health and safety environment can considerably optimize the level of health and safety of workplaces and workers. Automation of dangerous activities, another example, the ability to automate the most dangerous activities. In this case, artificial intelligence can control robots intended for production and in addition can complete those activities that would be too dangerous or weary for humans. Equipment monitoring, the ability to control the various equipment, artificial intelligence is also very useful, for example, in monitoring and controlling all the various equipment that are used daily by workers. The intelligent wares, no? A possible malfunction of this equipment could cause several and multiple damages, and for this reason, the use of artificial intelligence is a great advantage. Attention, monitoring workers again. The ability to monitor employees can be a problem. AI systems, among their various functions, also have that of controlling and monitoring employees. This control function seems to be very useful in preventing the spread of viruses and occupational diseases, as well as in preventing accidents and injuries. I like that the AI regulation, rules this kind of situation. It is possible to control, but you have to apply also the Italian legislation, and you have to remember that it's important to harmonize the different legislations in order to respect the principles which are contained in the Italian legislation and of course the EU legislation about privacy, at the same time applying the AI regulation, which of course is harmonized with these different legislations. It's not simple, honestly, because we have to be very careful, but it is possible. I know that in the United States and in the other countries, for example, in Australia, in other countries, the Anglo-Saxon system, we have a different approach. But in Europe, of course, I'm an EU lawyer. It's important to be very, very careful on this point. Monitoring harassment in the workplace, for example. In addition to monitoring employees, AI systems also make it possible to monitor any harassment, which is a rather serious problem within organizations. Reducing human error, but pay attention to the privacy profile. The possibility of reducing human errors, okay, it is possible. Very often the cause of accident in the workplaces is precisely human errors, which are in turn caused by the fatigue and stress to which workers are often exposed. AI systems are also effective in this regard, since they can detect worker fatigue and consequently send signals that warn them of the potential danger before injuries or accidents actually occur. Safety at work, artificial intelligence, and face recognition. There are, again, criticality. Processing of biometric data can be very, very, has to be managed with a lot of attention for the problem that I told you. So another way to ensure safety at work with artificial intelligence is with image and object recognition systems. Here are some of the many possible applications. Monitor the flow of people in industrial sites, warehouses, offices, construction sites, logistics centers. Facial recognition software can be trained to extrapolate faces from real-time video footage, and then compare biometric traits with those entered into certain categories of a database, so that only authorized persons can enter restricted areas. This means processing very sensible personal data. It can be done, but with a lot of attention. So serious critical issues in terms of privacy. Assist drivers in driving vehicles, for example, by biometric detection of facial expressions that characterize physical states such as drowsiness and distraction. thus decreasing the likelihood of accidents occurring. Verify that personnel carry out the actions required by safety procedures on construction sites correctly and in the right sequence. For example, check if the worker is wearing protective equipment, helmets, goggles, and gloves, or if the washing and disinfestation operations of the suits and equipment have been carried out in order to decontaminate them from substances harmful to human health. The ability to detect dangerous situations for workers and machinery. For example, the AI system is able to promptly and automatically send alarm signals to the mobile devices of the personnel working the work area. Record videos and photos to be transmitted in real time or on Internet of Things platforms. How computer vision works, another important instrument to understand how a machine can recognize objects within images and video footage. It is worth starting from a scientific definition of artificial intelligence. The set of hardware and software systems that aim to replicate some typical human abilities, such as the ability to perceive the environment and interact with it. It is also able to autonomously pursue a defined goal, making decisions to support or replace human intervention. Thus, computer vision systems exploit the optical sensor of video cameras and other devices to make recognition of people and objects. At the base of computer vision, there is the design of stratified neural networks that allow computer vision to develop learning processes characteristic of the human brain. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Roberto. How many aspects have to be considered for this? Yes, for this theme. Anyway, there is a questions from SERAP. Probably SERAP,
Yeah.
you can directly speaking.
I see the question. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah,
I see the question. Yes, I do agree with you. Of course, all the things. I could say that it was clear that everything can be connected to internet, and in this case, of course, the situation, from my point of view as a EU lawyer, can be a little bit more complex. Always because in Europe we have to apply very seriously the privacy law, and in this case, okay, the AI regulation gives some space, is able to create some space for this kind of controls. So you can do it, but always by harmonizing these controls. For example, you need to train seriously. The training of people has to be very serious, because of course, to use this kind of system, you need a lot of people or some particular individuals very well trained. You can imagine easily that if they are not well trained, they can do horrible mistakes. And so in this, and also to control and to surveillance the AI system, you need someone who knows very well how to use this kind of instruments. Mm-hmm. We are doing a lot of efforts. Honestly, personally, I'm training a lot of people for the legal and organizational aspects. Of course, I'm working with technicians always, and I have to say that it's really a great revolution. We are in front of before an enormous revolution. So it's sometimes people.
Ask a question. So how it is different than the normal surveillance cameras? Even in the stores, we have some cameras watching people without their consent. So, but in the workplace, is it a problem in the workplace? Yeah,
it's a big problem in Italy, in Europe in general, but in Italy because according to the special law ruling and the situation of the worker situation and workers' rights, of course you cannot do it. You have to do, but you need an authorization. And when you put these videos in a particular position, you have to be very careful, because, for example, according to the case law, you can do it, but only to protect your, for example, assets. Why you have to put the camera in front, a camera who is able to control continuously in a very massive way the face of a person? This is not useful, because absolutely it's very, very offensive. It's terrible for a worker. And in Italy, this kind of principle are applied very seriously, and not only the Garante per la Privacy, the authority, but also the ordinary, courts can intervene in this case. There is also sometimes it can be also considered as a crime in some particular cases.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's for us. It's it's not simple, because, for example, I have some clients. They are employer. They say, I want to protect my asset. I want you to know how they are working. Yes, but be careful, because you can control them in some particular way. I think that it's right. The law is very, very, how to say, the principle is a principle very high level. And honestly, it is right. This is my personal opinion, of course. Sometimes employers are not very happy. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now Massimo presents the conference. There will be a little presentation with a short video. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome to the 9th International Conference on Safety, Health and Welfare in Agrofood Systems. For the first time, the conference will be held in Rome and Viterbo, Italy, from September 14th to 16th, 2026. After several successful editions in Sicily, SHWA is now becoming itinerant, bringing researchers together in new and inspiring locations. Rome, with its unique history and breathtaking monuments, will host the opening events and the main conference sessions. Viterbo, the medieval city of the popes, will welcome participants for the technical visit, the plenary session, and networking opportunities in an authentic Italian atmosphere. SHWA 2026 will gather scientists, professionals, and policymakers from all over the world to discuss safety, health, and welfare in agrofood systems. Join us in Rome and Viterbo and take part in this global meeting for research, innovation, and sustainable development.
Okay, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. You have just watched the short video showcasing the beauty of Rome and Viterbo, two cities that will host the next SHWA conference in 2026. These locations are not only inspiring for their history and culture, but also the perfect setting to bring together a global community of researchers, professionals, and policymakers committed to improving safety and health and welfare in agri-food systems. As you know, this year's online meeting sets the stage for the in-person event in September 2026, organized by the University of Tuscia, the University of Catania, the Council for Agricultural Research and Economics, in collaboration with INAIL. INAIL is the Italian National Institute for Insurance Against Accident at Work. The conference is also supported by the 5th section, Ergonomics and Work Organization of the Italian Society of Agricultural Engineering. Together we are committed to making SHWA 2026 a truly international and interdisciplinary event. For the first time, the conference will be held in Rome and Viterbo in central Italy next year from September 14 to 16. Let me now share with you the organizational program. On Sunday, September 13th, we will welcome you in Rome with an evening reception, likely in the Eur district, close to the INAIL headquarters, which will be the main venue of the conference. You see the building that will host the conference. On Monday, the conference will officially start in the afternoon with a plenary session, including presentations on research results on occupational health and safety in agriculture from INAIL and collaborating institutions. On Tuesday, parallel sessions will take place throughout the day in Rome, and in the late afternoon at around 5 p.m., participants will transfer by bus to Viterbo. After hotel check-in in Viterbo, we will enjoy a social dinner with the local cuisine and a guided evening visit of Viterbo's medieval quarter, one of the largest and best preserved in Europe. On Wednesday, the University of Tuchel will host a technical visit at its experimental farm, followed by a working lunch and a closing session. Shuttle buses will then bring participants back to Rome and to Fiumicino International Airport. Now, why you should join SHWA 2026? First, you will have the opportunity to hear from leading international experts in the field. Second, you will explore the latest technologies and strategies to improve safety, health, and welfare in agro-food systems. And third, you will take part in a global conversation that is shaping the future of sustainable agriculture and food production. But SHWA is not just a conference, it is a community, a platform to exchange knowledge, build networks, and develop collaborations across borders. In the coming days, the new SHWA website will be online at shwaconference.eu with all the practical information and the call for abstracts. As in previous editions, accepted papers peer-reviewed by the scientific committee will be published in a Scopus indexed proceedings volume. This ensures that your work will gain high international visibility. We also invite you, even now through the chat, to suggest possible topics that you consider important for inclusion in the 2026 program. Your input is highly valuable. And in addition to the scientific program, the conference will feature networking opportunities, cultural visits, and parallel activities for accompanying persons. We want SHWA 2026 to be not only scientifically relevant, but also personally enriching and memorable. Before closing, I would like to thank also on behalf of the whole organizing committee, all today's speakers, and all of you for attending this online meeting. If you wish to receive a participation certificate, please fill in the online form, which will be available in the next few days on the conference website. And finally, I would like to leave you with one invitation and with one message. The invitation is join us in Rome and Viterbo for SHWA 2026. And the message is from Rome to Viterbo, let's build together the future of safer, healthier, and more sustainable agro-food systems. Be part of this global event and help us spread the word across your networks. We look forward to welcoming you in Italy in 2026. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Massimo. Okay, we are late, but one of the aim of this conference today is to collect ideas, suggestions, comments from you to work on the next conference, because we are going to start to work tonight for the next conference. But like in the spirit of the conference, as also Giampaolo said before, we want to be collaborative. We want to listen all participants, or friends, or colleagues about which are the most important themes that could be the platform for the next conference. And I think that the first answers come from today, because I think we have touched some very important points in our work, and I was very, very happy to hear your presentations. And I want to really thank all the speakers I think, very, very high level and very high interesting presentation. So if you have a comment now, you are welcome. Anyway, you can always contact us, as Massimo said before, by email or when the website will be ready. I think very, very soon. We can keep in touch for any reasons. And Giampaolo, probably you can say goodbye to everybody, or you make a comment, or I don't want to be the last
Yes.
one.
Only a very little comment. I think that very interesting points and topics are emerged. And I am thinking the safety regarding the family, the rural family, and in particular children, And then AI, of course, is a great topic in this period and in the future, next future, and in the future, generally speaking, and probably well, as concerned the safety behavior, I think that information is not enough. It's not enough. Awareness is not sufficient motivation to avoid risks, on my opinion. And so I think that this could be a topic, SHWA 26 topic, because if motivation, awareness is not sufficient, what we can do? This is, I think, this is a great topic, Barbara, SERAP, I think. And so I pass the microphone.
For a comment, you mean for a comment from Barbara, or what?
Well, thank you for saying that, Giampaolo, and thank you for acknowledging it. I think for those of us who have been doing this, we get so frustrated that the engineering designs or the safety features, they're there, but people don't always adopt them. So it's sort of like getting beyond what works in other industries and making it somehow apply in agriculture.
I agree. I also suggest adding some topics for emerging technologies and autonomous vehicles. So we are having a very great technology entering in the agriculture, but are they also bringing some additional unknown risk? So we need to talk about those unknown risks.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Barbara.
We can encourage the participant to write down the suggestions. And Carmen, you manage with a lot of number of statistics data. It's a very, very important topic to be able to manage with.
So to add anything more, because the information is very, very important.
We miss a lot of information about safety, about risks, about injuries in agriculture. We miss a lot of information because we need to have information as concerns the time in the day, early in the day, or not, or late in the day, early for young people, and some injuries occurs when there is the time is the unique time starting from the 6 or 7 to 14, for example, without dinner, and the people have minding dinner at home, and the last minutes are very, very rich in risks. In my observation, in my surveys on the field, for example. So I think that we can suggest at the organism that make policy or collect data. We must suggest them a method, a correct method for collect data as concern injuries.
I think so, but it's very difficult to the official data could be better, but more training is essential.
Yeah.
Marcos Grigioni on the chat suggested to a topic on the safety use of agricultural drones. In Argentina, not only in Argentina, but it is a new tool with the new risks to research about.
Interesting. Very, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Probably it's really late, Massimo.
Yes, I can take a screenshot. So
okay, yes.
Of all the speakers. So smile. Are you ready? Okay, perfect.
Okay, nice. We use this for illegal scope. No, we have a friend of mine is a lawyer.
Yeah,
His name is Roberto.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace to everybody.
Bye to everybody.
Peace to everybody from Italy, Sicily.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you to all participants that have, yes, from the beginning to the end, the number was almost the same for all the presentations. Yes, very interesting. This was a good result. Bye.